Death in Apartment 603. The mystery of Ellen Greenberg's snow was falling hard over Philadelphia on the evening of January 26, 2011. The city had gone quiet. Schools were closed, streets were slick, and inside the Venice Lofts, Apartment 603 glowed faintly against the storm. That's where Ellen Greenberg, a bright 27-year-old first-grade teacher, had taken refuge from the cold. Ellen was loved by her students, adored by her friends, and newly engaged to Sam Goldberg, a television producer. The couple was planning their wedding, decorating their apartment, and looking forward to the future. But that night, something went terribly wrong behind the locked door of Apartment 603. The last messages that afternoon, Ellen had left work early because of the storm. She texted a few friends, made dinner, and sent a quick message to Sam. "I'm making fruit and watching TV." Everything seemed normal. But around 6:30 p.m., when Sam returned from the gym, he found the front door locked. Not just with a regular lock, but with the swing latch from the inside. Ellen didn't answer his calls or texts. He banged on the door, called her name, and finally sent a message that would later echo through the investigation. "Open the door, you're scaring me." When there was still no response, he forced the latch open with a knife and stepped inside. The discovery, in the kitchen, Ellen was slumped on the floor, leaning against the cabinets. A 10-inch kitchen knife was lodged deep in her chest. The counter beside her was spattered with fruit, a half-filled glass of orange juice, and a small pool of blood. Sam dialed 911, his voice panicked and confused. "My fiancée, she fell on a knife, she stabbed herself." Paramedics arrived within minutes, but Ellen was already gone. The wounds that made no sense. At first glance, police thought it might be a tragic suicide. The door had been locked from the inside. There were no signs of forced entry. But when the medical examiner conducted the autopsy, the details turned chilling. Ellen had 20 stab wounds, 10 to the back of her neck, several to her head, and defensive-looking cuts on her hands. There were bruises in different stages of healing on her arms and legs. This didn't look like a suicide. It looked like an attack. The cause of death was initially ruled homicide. How the sudden reversal. Then, without clear explanation, the ruling changed. Weeks later, after closed-door meetings between the medical examiner and police investigators, Ellen's manner of death was changed to suicide. Authorities said the locked door proved no one else could have entered or left. They argued that the wounds, while extreme, could have been self-inflicted in a psychological break. But Ellen's parents, Josh and Sandy Greenberg, refused to believe it. "Our daughter didn't kill herself," they said. "Someone killed her, and they're still out there." The family's fight for truth. For more than a decade, the Greenbergs have fought for answers. They hired forensic experts, private investigators, and lawyers. Each new review raised more questions. Why were 20 stab wounds, including to the back of her neck, called self-inflicted? Why were bruises dismissed as unrelated? Why wasn't the apartment sealed as a crime scene immediately? Even Ellen's original medical examiner later signed an affidavit admitting the death should never have been ruled a suicide. The case reopened. In 2025, a new documentary, Death in Apartment 603, What Happened to Ellen Greenberg, reignited national attention. It laid out the contradictions, the ignored evidence, and the pain of a family that had waited 14 years for justice. Under mounting public pressure, a Philadelphia judge ordered the city to re-examine Ellen's case by October 2025. For the first time in over a decade, there's real hope that the truth might finally come to light. Epilogue. Apartment 603 still stands, silent and unremarkable, a modern unit in a quiet building overlooking the Schuylkill River. But behind that door lies one of the most haunting unsolved mysteries in Philadelphia's history. Was Ellen Greenberg's death a carefully covered-up murder, or an impossible suicide that defies logic? Until the truth emerges, one question echoes in the cold winter air. What really happened in Apartment 603?